A lot of times what we've counseled high income earners is how they could break away from their W-2 job at their employer and re-engineer the employment position to be a subcontractor. They are creating their own business. And once they have their own business, there's a lot more tax strategy available to them.
Welcome to the Going Long Podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yes, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you back once again for another fantastic conversation with today's amazing guest. Before we get into today's amazing guest in the conversation, I just want to once again thank you for continuing to invest your time with me and the entire Going Long family. We continue to rise to the top of the charts as it relates to podcasts, and that's really largely because of the action that you continue to take by leaving your honest written reviews as well as ratings. I really appreciate that from each and every one of you. And by the way, if you've listened to at least one episode and you received a little bit of value and you've been thinking about leaving a written review, we made it really easy for you. Just go, you'll find a link. It will show you how to leave it on the Apple iTunes podcast platform. And there's also another platform that we have, but just push the link and it will show you exactly how to do that. So go ahead and leave your honest rating and review, and really, really appreciate that from you. Also, a lot of you have been asking over and over, hey, Billy, where do I go find the previous episodes and how can I listen to the episode again? And I want to know what that specific guest said in terms of the best book to read, or what are the things that their favorite European city. We make it really easy for you as well. All you need to do is go to billykeels.com. When you get there, go to the podcast tab. And once you're in the podcast tab, you can find every single previous episode. We've got all kinds of cool resources there as well. But once again, if you're looking for previous episodes, go to billykeels.com. When you're there, just go to the podcast tab and you will be able to find all of the previous episodes, both the video as well as the audio version. So then lastly, a lot of you are accredited investors, which means that you have over $1 million of net worth, not including your primary residence, or you're making $200,000 a year for the last 2 years, and you're probably going to do the same this year, or as a household, $300,000. Or maybe you've taken this test, and I know a little bit less about that, but if you are an accredited investor and you're interested in getting together and learning more with other people who are accredited investors, we're putting together our accredited investor club. So send an email to AI Club, which is accredited investor club, AIclub@billykeels.com. Once again, that's AIclub@billykeels.com. It's going to be awesome. So let me tell you about today's guest. And if you're looking to understand a little bit more about what it takes to interact with ultra high net worth individuals or high net worth individuals, and you want to learn more about that, you're interested in saying, hey, listen, in my W-2, I am earning a lot of money, but I just need to think about new ways to not just make more money, but how can I keep more of this money? So you're looking for different tax strategies. You're looking to see the people that are ahead of where you are financially, what are some of the different decisions that they're making? Also, life is not just about money. It's also what goes beyond money. If you're looking for some of those different insights, you're definitely going to want to check out today's entire conversation, because today's guest goes into some very specific strategies as to how high income earners can also maximize the amount of money that you bring home by using 2 specific strategies. He actually talks about 4, but we deep dive into 2 of them, which I know you're going to absolutely love. So you're going to love today's conversation with Noah Rosenfarb, and we're going to get into that just after we listen to this very quick little bit of news for you. So we'll get right into the conversation. Whether you're an active investor or a passive investor, you really like your day job and you want to continue to go into your day job every single day feeling better, knowing that you've created the right options for yourself. At the same time, you just don't have enough time to really get your head around, spend all the hours investing long distance. Well, one way or the other, over the last number of years that I have been investing long distance, I've really understood a number of the major mistakes that you should avoid if you want to get to creating the right options for yourself much faster and being able to create more income sooner. And if you want to do that, if you want to understand more about that, I've made it really, really simple. You can just go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. You can learn all the things that the 7 major mistakes that I've seen over and over again that I want you to avoid. Once again, you can go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid.
Freedom!
So if you want to understand how to conquer your investing issues in a way that's healthy, wealthy, and wise, then guess what? Today's the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why? Because today's guest, started professionally as a forensic accountant. What in the world? I really want to know more about that. He's also been a professional CFO to affluent divorced women. Definitely want to find out more about that. And he's actually built a portfolio in the multifamily housing space of over 3,500 units. Love to know more about that. And today is a financial advisor to the top 0.5% through his Freedom Family Office. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Mr. Noah Rosenfarb. Noah, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me. Looking forward to it.
Hey, Noah, this is going to be really, really awesome. I love the things that you have been doing. Also the experience that you bring and the way that you are helping that top 0.5% today and being able to gain more control over their lives and do the things that they really want to be able to do. And I know you're going to add so much value to the entire Going Long family here today. So, Noah, as you know, I like to ask everybody here the same 5 questions. You're going to get 2 in the beginning, you're going to get 3 in the end, and then I have no idea what questions you're going to get in the middle. But we always like to get things started out here. First and foremost, help us understand, where do you actually live in the U.S.?
So I'm in Parkland, Florida, which is about an hour north of Miami and a half hour from Boca Raton.
Half hour from Boca Raton. Fantastic. So it's probably pretty warm there most of the time, yeah?
Mostly warm, and that's why I live here. I grew up in New Jersey, and my wife and I decided we didn't want to put winter coats on 2 little kids and stay indoors for the winter, so we shuffled our way down here.
Fantastic. So anybody who's watching or you're not watching the video version, you're just listening, stop and watch the video version, like jump over really quickly and check out. Because when you have a guy from New Jersey and a guy from Ohio, who one is living in the south of Florida and the other is living in Barcelona, Spain, the smiles that were just on our faces as we were talking about where we live was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So appreciate that. And then also some positivity. Noah, would really love for you to share with us, what's the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
Man, I've got so much great things in my life, but Wednesday mornings, we're recording this on a Thursday. So Wednesday mornings after we drop our kids at school, my wife and I head to the beach and we just sit we go for a long walk next to the ocean, like a 3-4 mile walk. And then we bring our chairs and we sit right down by the water's edge and just hang out for a few hours and relax before we come home and then the kids come in. And I find that those Wednesdays at the beach with my wife really rejuvenate me and help me brainstorm new ideas and get some clarity and some peace during an otherwise hectic time.
Fantastic, man. Love that. And just the thought of that. I know there's somebody running on the treadmill today and they're like, oh my gosh, I really want to do what Noah's doing those Wednesday mornings. That would be fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. And you know what, Noah, I give myself this really impossible task, right? I try to tell your entire backstory in like 7 seconds. Almost impossible. And definitely with the things that you've been doing, it's definitely impossible. So can you do me a favor and help the entire Going Long family understand more about you, the things that you're doing, and most importantly, in your backstory? Can you talk to us about some of the major decisions that you've made to get to this point in your journey? And then from there, you and I will take the conversation wherever it needs to go.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I could probably tell you my backstory in an hour, but I'll try and keep it short. And I would give you a few highlights. I would say one is that my parents got divorced when I was 3. And I grew up with a single mom that had 2 or 3 jobs. And it was very different when I spent time with her. And, you know, we had to kind of wait till payday to go food shopping versus spending time with my father, who's an accountant. I'm a 3rd generation CPA. And when I was with my dad, we'd go out to dinner, we could order dessert, or if it was raining, we'd be able to go bowling and go to the movies. So as I was a little kid, I started to see the benefits of having money. And I decided at a young age that I wanted to be wealthy. And so I've pursued that dream, pretty persistently through a course of life that's taken me in zigs and zags. But I started, as you mentioned, as a forensic accountant. I joined my dad's accounting firm, helped him scale it from $2.5 million to $15 million in revenue, helped him sell it to a top 20 CPA firm. And then I exited. I started a family office for affluent divorced women, grew and scaled that business, and then sold it to a $1 billion RIA firm, and somewhat retired down to Florida, but was still somewhat active in private equity investing and real estate investing. And over time, I realized that the group of people I really wanted to help were entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs are America's true heroes. We're the ones that are creating jobs and innovating. And so I built a family office designed all around helping entrepreneurs become rich beyond money. So not only having the predictable income that they want, whether it comes from their business or from passive investments like real estate, but also creating the life that they want, whether that's Wednesdays at the beach with their spouse or whatever it is that's important to them to have the life that they really enjoy. And then also to create the meaning that they want and build their legacy. And so that's what I've been focused on the last few years, is really finding entrepreneurs that are achieving high levels of success, that have significant wealth that they've created, but now realize that it's about more than money. And I think it kind of ties to my personal journey. After I achieved a certain level of financial success, I realized that more money doesn't really move the needle. It's really about some of these other areas of my life and making sure that I have a balanced life and a life that isn't only worth, living and enjoying for myself, but serves as an inspiration to others.
And when you can serve as that inspiration for others, it's one of those things where, someone today is looking for that inspiration and you're there, and it gives you also that additional motivation to want to continue to be the best version of you. As you tell your story and you're talking about your parents, I'm just, one of the things that is really curious to me is, there's this principle, and I guess I think a lot about maybe Tony Robbins, and I'm sure it wasn't him originally, but talk about in life, you are typically either running away from pain or running towards pleasure. You gave us a really interesting two examples, and you said that you knew that you wanted to be wealthy. Which reason do you think is that you wanted to be wealthy? Is it to run away from the pain of what you were experiencing maybe with your mom in that example, or running towards the pleasure of being able to eat that ice cream and dessert?
It was a bit of both. So I saw how challenging it was to not have money and to, have to make those decisions between this or that. Yeah. And I wanted both. And more importantly, I grew up, even though my mom, really worked hard and worked multiple jobs, but we had a small house in a great neighborhood, in a great town, Westfield, New Jersey, a really beautiful, affluent suburb of Manhattan. And my friends had vacation homes and stay-at-home moms. And I saw that, that's like a nice lifestyle to be able to go on vacation to Europe and, go and enjoy the things in life that are somewhat aspirational. And so I wanted both the material possessions, I wanted the freedom of choice. And that really was what led me to pursuing my own, kind of pursuit of wealth and pursuit of happiness.
Yeah. And as you do that, one of the things that I love that you said was really, it's not if you do this or that. And I talk about a lot here is the hashtag, the power of and, right? How do you do this? And, how do you maybe potentially work a corporate job and you're looking to have more control over your financial life? Or how do you build a successful business and make sure that you're present for your wife and your children or your husband or whatever the case may be? So having that mindset, I just love that that's something that's at your core as you start to talk to us or share your story with us today. So one of the other things that I did want to ask, and I usually ask this kind of right off the top of at the top of every conversation, because I am someone who lives in Europe. I have fundamentally been investing back in the United States in a number of different asset classes. And it's kind of the genesis of the show. And I know today that you spend a lot of time helping others, and we talked about different assets that you've amassed across the US, but it's this whole concept, and it's really a mindset thing, which is helping people understand that you can actually do whatever you set your mind to, specifically as it relates to investing. Like, I believe that you don't have to just invest beyond your back, that you invest in your backyard, you can invest beyond your backyard. And I know that you help a lot of people with investing where it makes sense for them, but maybe if you can talk to us a little bit about why someone that is a high net worth or ultra high net worth individual would consider making a direct investment in something that is actually not in a place where they can actually go touch it and see it.
So our business is all based on trust, and that trust then leads to a relationship. And what I found is that COVID's actually been really helpful for our business, because so many more entrepreneurs are comfortable doing business over Zoom. And I don't need to necessarily sit down and have dinner with them to build that relationship and that trust. And then when you have that trust with somebody, you can rely on their competency. So in our business, we've been investing in real estate for 20 years, since the turn of the century. And we've got, 40 transactions that we've closed. And what happens now is that when we have a new opportunity, we're just about to buy an asset in Cleveland where we don't own anything. Or earlier last year, I bought an asset in Florida, my home state, where I actually didn't own any property. And what I find is that our investors, whether they're new investors or existing investors, they want to rely on my due diligence, and they want to rely on the work that I've done to identify that I want to own this asset and my money's going into that asset. And that's what's bringing them comfort. It's not so much their own independent evaluation of the market, of the asset, of the opportunity itself. It's really the trust that they've placed in me because they know that this is what my family's doing.
And having that trust as a foundation is something that's really, really important. And you understand the trust, you understand the team, then it lends itself to maybe someone who wouldn't think about that, is to really open up their mind to say, hey, listen, okay, it's about where the team is, and also trusting the team of individuals or the person that is helping guide you along your journey. So you've talked a lot about the entrepreneurs and how you are focused on helping them. And you've talked about also some of the different profiles of people that you've helped. Now, here, there are a lot of us that are people that are in high income type of roles. They're still working in corporate roles. Many of the people that are listening and are running on the treadmill or doing whatever they're doing, maybe making dinner right now, they like their jobs. There's probably a very little few minority of them that don't, that are actually listening here or watching us. But one of the things that I'm always interested in is understanding, like, if you're in a high paid job, there's this kind of, there's this friend that's always with you. And this friend that is with you typically takes about, half of the income that you earn. And that income is, that friend is the tax person, right? We'll leave it as the tax person. And so I'm just curious, how do you typically help someone who is a high income earner who is thinking about like just placing more capital, but they don't really think about that 5-letter word, which is taxes, and the way that it can impact the way that they're investing or potentially even perceiving an investment?
Yeah, so we could go down the rabbit hole as far as you want. I would say there's a few different topics, and maybe you can tell me where you want us to take it.
Sure.
One is the value of becoming a real estate professional, which allows you to deduct depreciation against your ordinary income. Now, if you're a W-2 wage earner, that doesn't apply to you, but it might apply to your spouse. Another would be to talk about the use of retirement plans. So you may have a 401k at your place of employment, and your 401k may not allow you to invest in real estate, but there might be ways to take your money out of the 401k and roll it into an IRA where you could then self-direct your investments. Another kind of concept we could dig in on would be just making investments in assets outside of real estate that have a tax protected nature, like life insurance. A lot of people that are high income earners don't really understand the value of owning life insurance. They only think about the death benefit, but that's only a small piece for affluent families. And then the other is on structuring. So a lot of times what we've counseled high income earners is how they could break away from their W-2 job at their employer and re-engineer the employment position to be a subcontractor where they'd get paid on a 1099, especially now if they're working remotely. And through the use of that 1099, they're creating their own business. And once they have their own business, there's a lot more tax strategy available to them.
So love that you've given us 4 options. There's 2 that I believe that will make the most impact today for the Going Long family. There's one that you talked about, which is the real estate professional status. And that is something, because not only did you talk about that, but you talked about the second part, which is your spouse, right? And being able to combine that as a strategy. So that's one. The other is the insurance, because it's also too, and I agree with you, this is one of the areas where I believe most people think about death benefit only. But there are some really important strategies that can come as a result of understanding how to use, once again, the proper tool for the right context. So maybe we could talk, would you share just a little bit more about what you meant by the real estate professional and then this strategy as you were talking about the spouse? And also, I just want to make one thing very, very clear for the entire Going Long family. And they get used to this already, but what Noah is going to share with us are just examples and experiences. By no means is he giving anybody any type of advice. This is where we're talked about before. It's about making sure that you sit down with your team and understand how these examples, how this previous knowledge that Noah has could affect your specific situation. So make sure that, once again, you sit down with your team and you talk about, hey, listen, Noah was talking about this, and I'd really like to understand how it helped my situation. So Noah, over to you, man.
Yeah. So one of the things that a lot of passive real estate investors don't benefit from. So they get the depreciation on the K1s for the syndications they invest in. And if the total of the depreciation is more than 25,000, it kind of just sits there and waits until there's a future capital event. And there's certainly nothing wrong with passive investing in syndications. It is a very tax efficient way to build wealth, because often your cash flow that you're going to get, the distributions from the properties, they're going to be protected from income tax because of that depreciation. But another alternative is if you become an active investor. And so for those of you that are buying your own real estate, even though you might have that W-2 income, you want to figure out if there's a way to restructure your filing status between you and your spouse, if you have one, so that you can be considered a real estate professional. Now, one of the great parts of the US tax system is that it's self-reporting. So we get to tell the IRS if we're a real estate professional or not. If they ask us to support that we're a real estate professional, they're going to look at 5 tests. The 2 big tests that you really need to pass right off the bat are that your amount of time spent on real estate is more than anything else you're doing for income. And so if you have a W-2 full-time job, it's going to be hard to pass that first test. You're basically going to get an X, and it's not going to work. So I mentioned kind of briefly, one strategy is, hey, maybe instead of being an employee, can you convince your employer to hire you as a subcontractor? If you have a business, well, all of a sudden, maybe you could be a real estate professional. The second idea is if your spouse, if you're married and your spouse is a stay-at-home spouse, or they don't collect a W-2 because maybe they have a small business, maybe they can become the real estate professional. And as long as they own 6% or more of the project, then all of the family's income, whether you own 94% and they own 6%, or they own 100% and you own 0%, as long as they own 6% or more, then all of the income, or really losses, that they're generating as a real estate professional will offset the W-2 income that you're earning. And that's a really, really powerful strategy because there's ancillary benefits that we could talk about, one-on-one if this is an interesting conversation for you to have. But the goal would be to qualify as a real estate professional. I mentioned that first test is more than anything else. The second big test is 750 hours. So you don't need to be a licensed real estate broker. That's not a requirement, but you have to have that 750 hours. So if your spouse is the one that's going to be the real estate professional, you've got to make sure they've got that 15 hours a week that they can document as being dedicated to researching property, looking at property, managing property, acquiring property, talking about property, whatever all those things are that make them a qualified real estate professional. But the benefits are tremendous. I actually had a call yesterday. A family, they own a bunch of nail salons. The wife runs the salons. The husband is kind of, helping to run those businesses. But I was saying, hey, get out of that company and go start managing the real estate portfolio. And on yesterday's call, they were excited to tell me they found a 9-unit property for $3.5 million in California. And they're going to go do that acquisition, do a cost segregation study, get about, $700,000-$800,000 worth of depreciation and pay no taxes this year. So I love that strategy.
Legally, that's what I think is just absolutely phenomenal. And so Noah, as you share this, right, and this is one of the concepts that it's really important as we continue to share with the Going Long family. This is where can't say it enough. This is why it's important to have the right members on your team. It's not about, I was watching something the other day or talking about something where people said, well, yeah, but this is like, I don't know, it's like $3,000 an hour. I'm like, yeah, but if that 1 hour, you're getting probably 30 years of their previous experience. So pay it. And if you can save $700,000 as an example, how many times would you pay $3,000 to save $700,000 forever? And this is just another great example. Once again, sharing ideas and concepts. And so this is once again useful in terms of understanding the status as a potential tool that someone could use, going through a number of the different things. And you've given us 2 of the criteria that you have to check. And these are the first 2 major hurdles. But then also looking, if you are married or have a spouse, then this is a potential way for you to understand, sit down with your tax professional and say, hey, listen, this is a way that we can move ahead further, faster, which ultimately is going to get you more in control of your time and help you and your spouse go walk along the beach on Wednesdays if you so choose. Yeah. Wow, don't you just love this conversation? This is amazing. This is fantastic. And so just really quickly, I just wanted to remind you, for those of you that are looking to create more options for yourself, get there faster, and do that with long distance investing, make sure that you go to billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid so that you can avoid all those mistakes, get to your goals faster and sooner. Once again, that's billykeels.com/7 mistakes to avoid. Now back to the conversation. So I didn't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add there, Noah, or if you also wanted to maybe pivot and talk about the second thing that we were talking about, which was the insurance.
Yeah, sure. Happy to talk about the insurance. And also maybe it's worth mentioning, if anybody wants to download, I have a list of 23 overlooked tax strategies for entrepreneurs. May apply to some of you that are still wage earners. You could download that at freedomtaxstrategy.com. Just put in your name and email and you'll get a list of 23 ideas for you to cover with your accountant. Just show that list to your accountant, run down the list. And in there would be things like becoming a real estate professional, using cost segregation studies, and also talking about life insurance. So one thing that most people don't understand about life insurance is that if you paid $1,000 for $1 million life insurance policy today and you die tomorrow, that $1 million would be 100% income tax free. The death benefit is not taxable. All that appreciation would go to your beneficiaries without incurring any tax. And if you properly structure the insurance, it's very easy to also avoid the estate tax. And another aspect of life insurance that most people don't really grasp is that when you own permanent life insurance, and that's different than term insurance. Term insurance is life insurance that you never expect to collect on. You would buy it for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years just to protect your young family, typically from the loss of your income if you died unexpectedly. Permanent insurance is insurance that you expect to die with because you could have it forever. And when you buy permanent insurance, included in that permanent insurance is an investment component. And there's different ways that you can invest in life insurance. Some is more like a bond, which would be whole life insurance. Some is more just like investing in the stock market, which would be variable insurance. And then there's also indexed insurance, where you kind of have a hybrid of the two, where you can't lose any money, but you can't make as much as an uncapped stock market investment. Now, inside those policies, as they grow in value, there's no tax. And so what I like to do, one of the policies that I have, is I set it up to provide me with a retirement income stream. So all the money is growing tax-free. And when I take the money out of the policy later on in my life, I take it out as a loan, much like when we refinance a building. We don't have to pay any tax because we're taking loan proceeds. We could do the same thing with life insurance. We just borrow our own money out of our life insurance policy. We don't have to pay any tax, and we could use it for our lifestyle expenses. And then also, because I love debt, just like when I buy a property, I want to get as much debt as I can. The same is true for me when I buy life insurance. I don't want to pay all of the life insurance premiums myself. I structure my life insurance in accordance with a bank loan. And so I might pay only 25% of the premium, and the bank is paying the other 75%. And I'm getting leverage inside my life insurance acquisitions. And again, it's another structure that a lot of investors are just totally unfamiliar with.
And because a lot of investors are unfamiliar with these types of structures. And one of the things that the Going Long family does differently is they're here and they're listening to you and they're taking notes and they're running on the treadmill, probably listening for the second time already. And it's about then being able to take action. But some of the things, and you've talked about the list of the 23 ideas that you have, and we're going to include those in the show notes as well, Going Long family. So don't worry, you'll be able to just click a link and get to what Noah's talking about before. But, how does someone find out about this? Because it's like you said, like most real estate investors don't even understand that these types of strategies exist. And typically and I'm sure you see this all the time, when you say this, Noah, like I've heard this many, many times and I've actually seen it and have done it. And so I know that it's a reality, but you're going to have people that are like, Noah, that's too good to be true. Doesn't sound like it's true. Doesn't sound like it's legal. How do you help to educate people on that front?
So part of it as an advisor to affluent families is I found that some people are willing to learn and willing to tolerate complexity. Yeah. And those are the people that we can work well with because we'll save them, millions of dollars in their lifetime. And then I've also found that some people are, you could say they're pessimistic or they're a little, on the straight and narrow. They don't like anything that's not clearly black and white. And, my attitude as an advisor is I've got to move on because I'm not going to invest my effort to convince them and persuade them. That's not really my style. I don't feel like that's my duty. I like, I have a friend who's in the insurance business and he says there's two types of sales, the easy ones and the ones you don't get. And I think the same is true when it comes to some of the, tax structuring and unique advice that we provide to affluent families. Either you get it and you like it and you want it, or you're resistant and it's not worth it.
And I'm only smiling because I think in the beginning when I used to have this new knowledge and I wanted to impart it on other people and like, hey, listen, and people would be like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure. And then I came to the same realization is like, hey, listen, this stuff is out here. It's real. It's legal. People that are doing it and I'm actually doing it benefiting. And so but what you do start to realize is when you're actually doing these things and the people that are still sometimes skeptical tend to stay in the same place as you continue to move forward. And so you start to come to the realization that, it doesn't really matter if you want to convince, you don't have to convince someone. It's just a matter of exposing them to the knowledge. And if they want to allow their lives to advance, well, then they will take some, initial move forward or not. And, at the end of the day, we're both happy whether you move forward or not. And hey, your life is your life and you're good to go.
Yeah.
I felt like you were getting ready to say something.
No, I mean, I would just share, like one very unique thing I've done is I own a business in Puerto Rico where there's a 4% corporate tax rate. And that business is owned by my Roth 401k plan. So when the business generates dividends, it issues a dividend to a 401k plan. And just like if you owned Apple stock in your 401k and they issued a dividend, you'd pay no tax. And that money can grow tax-free for the rest of my life. And I could take it out tax-free later in life. And some people are really astonished that that's legal and possible, and they want to know how to do it. And other people say, "Oh man, that doesn't sound right." I don't, they just want to stay away. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, we're on the same page with that one. Hey, so one of the other things I was going to ask you, because we initially started talking about real estate, and I think real estate is fantastic, but there are so many other different types of tools depending on what goal you have for yourself that you can actually use to move yourself and forward to gain more control over the different aspects of your life that you want to have control over. This will help a lot of the people that are here that are in corporate roles and really think that the only way is to go and use more of your time or invest, I say blindly, in the stock market or in some other thing. What have you found is the key to really helping people who are high income earners begin to create multiple streams of income that they can count on over a period of time?
It's all about testing and figuring out what you're comfortable with and placing bets, for lack of a better word, around the table. So usually what we advise is you should invest no more than 2.5% of your liquid net worth in any individual investment or syndication. And if your income is really high, then you really never want to get past, a full year's worth of your savings. So let's say you're making $1 million a year, and after taxes, you bring home 700 and you spend 300 on the family and you're saving 400 a year. You should never invest more than 400 in anything, because that's about a year's worth of savings. You don't want to lose more than that. So either of those two tests is a good idea. The high conviction, my best friend is starting this business and I can't wait to help them. Well, maybe you're going to take 1 year's worth of savings. But if you're going to invest in a syndication, if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, if you're going to invest in some new strategy that you've heard of that sounds appealing, I would say 2.5% is a good rule of thumb, because that gets you to 20 investments at just half your net worth. And by the time you get to 20 investments, usually you'll have a feel for what you like and what you don't like. You'll have a feel for the types of people you like doing business with. You'll have a feel for the types of assets that you prefer. And you'll also get an idea of the things that you don't like as well.
Makes a lot of sense. So when you're using this example as 2.5%, especially for that person that doesn't really know where to get started. So you're giving them the opportunity to get up to 50%. So the 2.5 times 20 is get you to 50%. And then from there, after having gone through the quantity, you will begin to get a better sense of where you feel more comfortable. And then know at that point, do you typically see people saying, okay, well, now I know which types of streams of income I feel more comfortable with, so that 2.5% begins to become much more concentrated in the areas where they gain expertise, understanding, and feel much more comfortable and confident.
Yeah, especially, again, if you're an IT professional and you're an expert in security, well, you might find that making angel investments in security-based businesses is really what you like to invest in, because you feel like you've got a knowledge, gap compared to other passive investors, and you could pick winners from losers. And you might not know that unless you've also tried investing in real estate and tried investing in crypto and tried investing in just general startups and venture capital deals and, Bitcoin mining companies, or what, there's a whole gamut of options that are out there. But I call an opportunity filter, and a strike zone is really what you need to result in after you've had some experiences. So you could say no to things more quickly. So you want to be able to look at a deal and basically get to a point where 90% of the deals that land in your inbox, you could say no to within 2 minutes.
Yeah. It helps on the brain damage, because sometimes if you don't exactly know what you're looking for, you can spend so much time thinking, yes, this, just that. And yeah, when you've gone through enough, then you really quickly can go, yep, makes the criteria, or it gives the 1 or 2 questions that you need to just get clarified in your mind. Once you get the clarity around those questions or those answers, then you're in or you're out, and it makes life much, much simpler and easier to go through. So one of the things that I do want to ask you before we get into the going along final 3. So in your demonstrating the different types of tools that high income earners and as well as high net worth individuals can look at and understand. Now, we did talk about in the very beginning, Freedom Family Office. And so I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about who is that person that you're specifically helping through Freedom Family Office, just because I'm sure that there are a lot of people that are interested in understanding more about that.
Yeah. So our family office is really custom designed by entrepreneurs and for entrepreneurs. So usually the people that approach us have a 7-figure income and an 8-figure net worth. And what they're looking for us to help them with on the technical side is investing in stocks and bonds, investing in real estate and private equity and private debt, figuring out their business succession plan, developing their tax strategy, helping them with their estate plan and any insurance strategies that would go along with that. So we're overseeing essentially everything that has a dollar sign in front of it in their life. And then also one of the aspects around, creating the legacy that you want is making sure that the family is engaged in their wealth creation and wealth succession plan in a way that's comfortable for mom and dad, but also educates their children so that they don't end up leaving their kids money that they can't be responsible for.
Awesome. So that makes a lot of sense in having everyone involved in the process, being comfortable and creating effectively a family succession plan. that is well orchestrated. So that's awesome. Makes a lot of sense. And you know what, Noah, these conversations go by super fast, and we're already to the point where we're getting to the going long final three. But the thing is, Noah, I never ask anyone the going long final three unless they tell me, and today you're the guest. So unless you tell me that you're ready to answer the going long final three.
Let's
Are you
do
ready?
it.
All right, there we go. I love it. I love the energy. There we go. Come on, let's get it. So listen, so we started with you over on that side of the pond, I guess to my left. And I'd like to bring it back to Europe here because this is where I've called home for the last 20 years or so. So what is your favorite European city that you've either visited, Noah, or is still on your bucket list to visit?
So I've had the good fortune of visiting 62 countries on 5 continents, and love traveling, love seeing the world, meeting new people, and experiencing new cultures. For me, I really love Amsterdam. I had a chance to spend King's Day there, which was a super fun party. I did that with about another 100 entrepreneurs. We were on boats in the river there. Great time. But my wife and I also enjoyed seeing the tulip farms. I thought I was just taking her because that's what she wanted. We backpacked through Europe when we were teenagers, when we graduated college. And she always wanted to go back to Amsterdam to see the tulips bloom. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was doing her a favor. It was gorgeous. I loved it. And Amsterdam is just a great city for having fun, for art and culture. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic city. Love it. And it's one of those places that just, it's a phenomenal place. So another vote for Amsterdam, which is awesome. And now into question number 2. And question number 2 is one of these that's really close to my heart because it's really about sharing from successful people. And, Noah, I consider you a very successful person. And I guess one of the things that I've always noticed, there's a specific pattern with people who are successful. And one of the reasons that people that are successful become so successful is because they typically don't make any mistakes. And along the way, they know exactly. Did I just say, I think I did. I think I made a mistake there. So it's kind of by design. The entire Going Long family's in on it. Now you're in on it, Noah. So the thing is, I kind of make a joke about it. But the thing is, really successful people, they actually make a lot of mistakes. They make many more mistakes than most people. But really, they do one thing very, very differently, Noah. And I hope you'll agree. Those people that are successful and are making so many more mistakes than other people, the thing that they do differently is they actually stop and they learn from the mistake. And not only do they learn from the mistake, but then they put it into action, what they've learned, so as to not make the same mistake again or minimize the chances of that happening. And so kind of all the jokes behind us now, and as someone who's successful, I would love for you to share not really what the mistake or the learning opportunity or however you want to call it, not that, but share with us the one lesson that you know that the Going Long family needs to hear today.
So I made a transition from my family business where I was a W-2 employee to becoming self-employed. I did that coincident with my wife leaving her job and us having our first child and, basically going to no income. And I would say that the lesson in that is there is a way to follow your dreams, and, it takes some thoughtful planning and it takes a lot of courage. But one of the benefits is that you could actually live the life that you really want to live. And so if you've been sitting on the sidelines and grinding it out at work and not really thrilled, but you feel like you've got to stay on the treadmill because that's what your family deserves, there's another way out. And if you can save up some of those paychecks and figure out how to live a little bit leaner, there could be an exit strategy for you. And the grass is always greener on the other side. And the fallback plan is you could always get a job again. And the world will accept you if you try and fail. So I'd encourage you, if you're thinking about leaving that 9 to 5, to make a plan and take the leap and test your wings.
Make a plan, take the leap, and test your wings. Love it. I really appreciate you sharing that, Noah. And that was fantastic. And one of the things that as we get into question number 3, that I kind of made an allusion to it in the opening, but I do just want to note that you are a published author. You have written a number of books, and we're going to include those as well in the show notes. And if you, once again, I would encourage you to watch the video version, because you will see a number of the books that Noah has written. And I made allusion to one of them, Exit, earlier when we got started. And so, really, with that stated, I would love for you to also share one book recommendation that you know that the Going Long family needs to hear about today.
So one of my favorite and most impactful books is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. It's been, kind of republished, but really the original text was back around 2007. It's a life-changing book for me. And I think the people that haven't already been exposed to it should definitely pick it up and take a read through it. It's really powerful.
Yeah, the 4-Hour Workweek is one of those things which is, it's a paradigm shifter, which is phenomenal. So, wow, no, these conversations just fly by, man. They're amazing, and I'm just, I'm thinking about the very first thing that you're talking about when we got started in this conversation, and you're sharing the story as a young boy, and you're thinking about the child of divorced parents, and the moments when you were with your mother working multiple jobs, and then the moments that you were with your father, who was a trained CPA, and being able to eat ice cream with him, and thinking about, could you actually get the dessert when you were with mom? And these are things that started to help you realize that, hey, listen, you really want to become a wealthy person as you grew up. And wealthy, not just meaning that you had financial means, but also you wanted to do that and be wealthy beyond money, or rich beyond money, that you're helping other people become rich beyond money or wealthy beyond money today by sharing the insight that you've gained, not just through investing in specific types of assets, but also creating the different types of strategies. I mean, you shared two of them that were you shared a number more than that, but we had a chance to go deep diving for those high income earners that are thinking about real estate professional and being able to combine that with spouses. And maybe that is a tool that you could talk to your professional more about, or you may want to look at different types of insurance policies that are there. There are also tools that can ultimately help you to get further and closer to your goals much faster. And so I know that just those stories and the things that you've talked about, and traveling to 64 countries and having this new perspective on life, so many people that are listening and watching us, I know they're going to want to know more about you, and they're going to figure out, hey, listen, can we go dive deeper into one of these strategies? I'm earning 7 figures and I don't really know who I can talk to. So with all that being stated, I know I want to continue to talk to you, and I know that so many people in the Going Long family would like to know more about you and get in touch. So help us understand, what is the best way for the Going Long family to find out more about you and more about your organization?
Sure. If you could find me on LinkedIn. You could look at Freedom Family Office's website. You could go to Invest with Our Family. There I have an ebook that talks about how we invest for infinite returns in real estate. But if you wanted to talk, just go to talktonoah.com, NOAH, talktonoah.com, and you could fill out some information, and that'll get you in touch with someone from the team. And, we'll get on the phone together when it's appropriate if you need my advice and my counsel.
All right, fantastic. Talk to Noah. He's also mentioned a couple different of the websites. We'll include those in the show notes. And the one thing that I would like to ask the Going Long family, when you reach out to Noah via LinkedIn, do us both a favor, or do all three of us a favor. Just let Noah know that you are watching or listening here on the Going Long podcast. It's just going to make the two of your conversation, it's going to make it much easier to take the next step in the conversation, because you're giving him a point of reference. So that's the one ask that I do have. So of the Going Long family. And with that stated, listen, Noah, I really appreciate you investing your time with me, with the entire Going Long family today. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate it.
With pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, fantastic. And just a quick word to the Going Long family. Thank you so much once again for investing your time with Noah and I. I'm sure that you're taking so many of these different strategies. You're trying to figure out, okay, where's the link? I need to get in touch with Noah. It's awesome. I guess with that stated, I'm really looking forward to welcoming you back on the very next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Wow. Don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? When I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.